It has been said that the Steelers and Ravens don't meet, they collide.
Man, these are two teams that don't like each other, very close proximity to each other. You look at that mystique and that history, and it means a little bit more in this game.
All about the finish, okay? We're chasing this victory. All about the finish.
We're going to make big plays. Just play. Play and make plays. We'll come out of here with a win.
December football, with the division on the line, everyone knew that this was going to be a battle of epic proportions.
Take advantage of your opportunity and handle it one play at a time, one game at a time, one rip at a time.
When you have a rivalry like this, sometimes somebody will say, well, I'll just throw the records out. But the records of these two teams, can't throw them out, and they are noteworthy heading into today's game.
With both teams sitting 6-6, this game could decide their postseason fates.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit and sacked. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson met for the first time last Sunday in Baltimore. And thanks to a season-best performance in the air by Rodgers, the Steelers are back in the win column and also have a 64% chance to win the AFC North. For more on round one of Pittsburgh and Baltimore, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. We've entered December football, and it started with a discount double check and a win. Head coach Mike Tomlin, you haven't gotten that discount double check mode.
Yeah, I just like to have fun with Aaron, man. It's good to have him in that rivalry and him to kind of make his imprint on the legacy component of it. It was a fun football game.
What did he mean to your offense that day? Because he seemed to be as highly competitive. And at age 42, you know it's in there, but, man, you saw it firsthand in that game.
I think I said it throughout the course of the week. You run to do business with a guy like Aaron for games like that and for times like this, December ball. He's a big-time competitor. He's a been-there, done-that guy. But beyond that, man, he just relishes the thick competition. And you want people who are wired that way, people that run to it as opposed to from it. He's certainly one of those guys.
Your offense came out with a different strategy. I think you passed the ball 16 of the first 22 plays you made right off the bat with a 52-yarder. Was that the game plan going into that?
Yeah, there's a texture to this rivalry, and certainly they're familiar with us and we're familiar with them. We thought maybe we'd change it up on them and try to quell the environment, get some chunks, flip the field. We were able to do that, certainly. We were going to be schematically aggressive, but it's beyond being schematically aggressive. It requires playmaking, and guys like DK and others made some plays down the grass, and I thought it was a difference for us, particularly offensively.
And it showed right off the bat. You scored on your first possession of the game, and then the first possession of the third quarter. That had been a problem. Point of emphasis for you last week?
Well, we just decided we were going to be schematically aggressive in whatever that entails situationally. And sometimes that's hiding within a possession down. We threw the ball downfield some on third and medium. Calvin had a big play in the third quarter on a third down and 3-ish where he went down the field, and he was a whisker away from going 75 on that play. And so it was more of a mentality, and certainly the production was a major component of it.
I don't think many people expected a Aaron Rodgers touchdown run, but that's also how this game sort of unfolded. There were things covered in the secondary. I'm just curious how it works with scramble drills in practice. How much do you spend time doing that, especially with a guy like Rodgers, who at this point you don't expect him to, but he kept plays alive, and as a result, those receivers had to adjust?
I think you let it happen organically. You snap the ball enough in practice. There's some things for a variety of reasons where things don't happen on time. You encourage guys to keep working. You solidify scramble rules in terms of the eligibles. You train your guys to block extended. Aaron is a major component of that. He doesn't give up on plays. Extended plays without negativity has kind of been a signature of his resume over the course of his career, and certainly you saw evidence of that Sunday.
DK was a big part of the pass game, as you said, but also he ends up going into the gunner role, it looked like, on special teams. And I know normally you don't want your guys out there in those situations. What happened that ended up in his situation?
You know, we went into the game thin in some spots, and obviously attrition was a component of it with in-game. Roman Wilson, for example, had played some gunner for us in recent weeks, and he was inactive. Guys like James Pierre and Brandon Echols were playing a lot of defense, just about every down of defense. And so it's that time of year where you ask some guys to do some things that aid us in terms of victory. And sometimes guys ask you. I just think it's a mindset that's reflective of where we are. Same could be said for Jaylen Warren as a kick returner. I think it was probably the first time this year in the regular season that we've seen him in that space. But again, we didn't have Key Williams in uniform. And the road is getting narrow. Jaylen is a guy that wants to be a component of that phase, but we got to exercise some prudent judgment from time to time. But given where we are and how significant that game was, we thought it was prudent to put him back there and allow him to do some of those things. And I just think that's the spirit of how we approach the game.
You guys have had a history with Lamar Jackson, a lot of good results. How difficult is it to prepare for him, and whose responsibility is it, when you're dealing with a guy like that?
It's very difficult, and it's difficult for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, a lot of teams don't have guys on their roster with that skill set to represent what he means in stadium. And so certainly we had some guys give us some quality looks last week, but none of them are Lamar Jackson. And so you really don't feel it until you're in stadium with them. Thankfully, we've been in stadium with them a lot. You got to mix things up. It's combination rush, it's combination coverage. The bottom line is, man, you better have a fresh collection of rushmen. He's going to run around. He's going to extend. I thought our guys played extremely hard. I thought he made it very difficult on us, man. He got out of some things that were just incomplete passes, but if we could somehow get him on the ground, it could change the complexity of the next down. The number of times he was able to get away from us and elude us and maybe throw an incomplete pass, I think is not talked about enough. He avoided a lot of negativity. Thankfully, we were able to get him in the end. That was a big play by Alex Highsmith. It'll go into the bucket with the rest of them in terms of significant plays at the end of those games to secure victory for the Steelers.
And it was a victory of 27-22. Coach, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins on a Monday night. They're red hot, maybe the hottest team in the NFL. We'll get into that and more right after we send it back to Missy Matthews.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And Miami has won 3 of the last 5 games between these two teams, including the last meeting in 2022 at Hard Rock Stadium. But the Steelers lead the all-time series 16-15. And get ready for a color rush on Monday night. The Steelers will be rocking the fan favorite monochromatic look. And Pittsburgh is 8-3 when wearing the color rush uniforms. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Well, the Steelers are back above 500, and the Dolphins are coming to Pittsburgh on a 4-game winning streak. All eyes are going to be on this matchup as it concludes Week 15 on Monday night. For much more on how Miami turned their season around in the second half, let's throw it back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Missy, thanks very much. Next up for the Steelers, a Monday night game. They've been very good at home on Monday nights, winners of 22 in a row at home. Miami comes to town, and, Coach, they are very hot. They've won 4 in a row, and it's interesting because at the trade deadline, they appeared to be sellers, and all of a sudden they've changed, it seems, the way they play offense. They're running the ball more. What's been the biggest difference with the Dolphins?
I think they've made some changes on both sides of the ball. Offensively, certainly they're playing behind A-Chain in their running game, and man, he's a explosive perimeter runner. Did a lot of work on him when he came out of Texas A&M. He was a two-sporter, a track athlete as well. You see that in his play. His perimeter running game is spectacular. They're doing an awesome job of running off the ball up front and playing behind the running game, minimizing negativity while doing so. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think they reduced some of the things that they've done. They're playing Minka a lot at nickel. They got more depth at safety than they do at corner. And so they've made some changes in terms of how they're deploying some of their sub-package ball They're making plays. They're keeping a lid on it. They're hustling to the ball. They're playing good collective team defense. I think over the last 5 weeks, they're number one in defensive scoring. They're number one or so on third down, number 1 or 2 in turnovers. And so they're getting off the field. They're keeping the point total down. They're taking the ball away, and you couple that with what's going on the other side, that they're playing successfully behind their run, and that's a recipe for engineering victory, and they've done so rather consistently, as you mentioned, over the last month.
Yeah, you mentioned the run game. They had 239 yards against the Jets last week. A-Chain is certainly a big part of that. Have they committed more to that side of it? Because Tua Tagovailoa had like 14 interceptions, which I think is first in the NFL. He's not throwing it as much, although he still can be dangerous that way.
He certainly can be, but certainly they in recent weeks, they've played almost exclusively behind their run, and then the things that complement it. They're changing the launch point with the boot game, and Tua's always done a really nice job there. They're hitting you with some play pass as well. I'm sure they went through a period of adjustment. When they lost their top flight wide out, probably at the end of September. Probably took them a couple of weeks to kind of find their bearing in terms of redistribution of the ball and playing personality. And certainly when you watch their tape now, there's evidence that they found their home.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle's still a big part of it as well. Maybe not the numbers suggest that, but you always have to be mindful of him.
No, Waddle's downfield, certainly. He's a big play-capable guy. He's got really good run after. A lot of the ball goes to him, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Waller. Waller was a late addition for them that they picked up during the course of the journey. And he's the type of guy that can be a real asset to him, particularly in the red zone. He's a big-bodied guy. He's good along the end line and the back pylon and things of that nature. It's been highly productive for him.
Jordan Brooks is the leading tackler in the NFL. The one thing they've seemed to do better in the last several weeks is tackle. They don't miss tackles. Chubb's been their best, sack man. What does their defense do that has changed, the way they do business? Because early in the season, they were among the leaders in missed tackles on defense. They've shut that down completely.
I think they've done less schematically. And as you mentioned, I think that linebacker tandem has really found their footing. They've also gotten Minka closer to the line of scrimmage. When you play him at nickel as opposed to free safety, he becomes more impactful in terms of some of those seemingly benign downs, 1st and 10, 2nd and medium. They blitz him off the edge. He's been a major component of that. And certainly I think that they've kind of evolved in terms of their rotation up front. They got a big first rounder out of Michigan, man, that's growing over the course of the journey and getting really solid in the productivity that he's providing. And I think that's a component of it as well.
This is the time of year where guys have to play a lot. You've gotten contributions from a lot of different players, but it's interesting that 2 of your players are among the leaders, if not the leaders, in snaps. And that would be Patrick Queen, who was playing, obviously injured last week, and also Jalen Ramsey. When those guys are out there, even though sometimes you wonder if they should be out there because of injury, it tells you a lot about their willingness to just help a team. Specifically, those 2 guys, what have they meant to your defense?
I think player availability is a component of evals, and certainly you value guys that display that. I don't know that Patrick Queen missed an NFL game prior to us signing him, and that was an attractive component of his profile. He was young, he was experienced, and had displayed durability, and he's continued to display that since he's been here. And certainly Jalen Ramsey, man, is a big-time competitor, a lover of football. But those 2 guys in particular, when you have those guys and they're in the middle of things the way that they are regarding their job description, you have a chance to be solid. Patrick is our defensive quarterback and signal caller. Jalen, for over the last month and a half, has been the free safety. And so you got a chance to be solid around communication when those guys are in there. And when you do that, you have a chance to not give up big plays and certainly have a chance to make some plays of your own.
One other guy I want to mention is Y.A. Black. He seems to get more and more opportunity out there. Why is that the case?
Sometimes one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity. We have absorbed a lot of attrition over the course of this journey. Dean Lowry, Loudermilk, Derek Harmon at 2 different instances during the course of the season. And so Y.A. is just a young guy that's been working over the course of the journey and getting some opportunities because of misfortune relative to others. And to his credit, he's taken advantage of it.
Coach, thanks very much. When we come back, we're going to have the keys to the game. Missy, that's still to come. Back to you.
All right, sounds good, Bob. Well, the victory in Baltimore marked Aaron Rodgers' 160th regular season win as a starting quarterback. And for Coach Tomlin, he's tied 10th all-time on the coaches list with 190 regular season victories. Coming up next on our show, Merrill Hodge draws up a new playbook to show why Pittsburgh's defense needs to bring its A game on Monday night. That's after giving up more than 200-plus rushing yards in their last 2 games. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Show off your black and gold knowledge with Immaculate Prediction, the Steelers predictive game that gives you a chance to win some great prizes. Here's one of the Week 15 questions. Will Aaron Rodgers have over or under 170.5 total passing yards on Monday night? Just head over to the Steelers mobile app to compete for this week's first place prize, an autographed Ben Roethlisberger jersey. Good luck. Since Week 10, the Dolphins have led the NFL with 192.3 rushing yards per game. It, of course, will be a point of emphasis for the Steelers' defense again this week, but it certainly won't be easy. For much more on what Miami's ground game entails, here's Merrill Hodge with a Week 15 playbook.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Playbook, presented by Microsoft Copilot. All right, when you hear the Miami Dolphins, if you haven't watched them for a while, you probably think of a lot of motion, crazy plays to the perimeter. They do a little bit of that, but they went on a losing streak, so they went back to playing big boy football and true football. They run the football with great efficiency, and that's what's helped them in their winning streak, and that is going to be most pivotal Monday night. So let's show you about the traditional way they're running the football now that they weren't before, and they're winning with it. So first play out of the box is a traditional I formation. One tight end, fullback, I formation, quarterback under center. You just don't see that a lot in the NFL, but more and more teams are doing this, and guess what they're doing? They're winning. But let's watch how effective they are. The tight end will go in motion, and as we get him in motion, we're going to see the combo blocks that everybody executes well. Stop it there. The center and guard have done a great job of scooping together, getting the defensive lineman stacked backer. Tackle does a great job. Now, the fullback does a great job, and here's the advantage of having a blocker in the backfield. He can adjust. You kind of got 2 defenders in there. The back does a great job of setting him up, but 30 takes both of them out. The receiver does get in there, but 30 does a great job of pinning him. Once he pins him, then 28 does what he can do. And their backs are dynamic. You better tackle these guys. They break tackles. They're fast. You got to bring them down, and you got to work defensively together. Now, they do some wrinkles with motions that are very effective, okay? They have 6 offensive linemen here. 64 is an offensive lineman. They play and do a lot of this. Quarterback under center. Back is behind the quarterback. I want you to see the effect it has on the motion. But the first thing, here's the blocking assignments. The right tackle and right guard, they got to block the defensive tackle there in their gap, and they got to work to the stacked defensive back all the way to the outside over here. Then the left guard and center have to work and block that guy in their gap, defensive tackle, to number 44. And this ball is going to the right, so those are not easy blocks. So watch what happens when they send number 30 in motion. Watch what happens to those stacked defenders. They all move over. Now, much easier to execute those blocks. As they snap the ball, watch them now. Watch that tackle get off into the second level. When those guys get to the second level and you get guys on the line of scrimmage block, just great things happen. This is the Miami Dolphin offense. The key tonight for the Steelers is to neutralize their running game. If they can neutralize their running game, then it gives them a great chance to win this game.
You can head to the team's official YouTube page to catch all of the rest of Merrill's playbooks. Well, the last time the Steelers and Dolphins met in Pittsburgh was the 2019 season. The Steelers sported those color rush jerseys and picked up the win. So how can they have a repeat performance on Monday Night Football? Let's send it over to Bob and Coach to find out in the Keys to the Game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Bob.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. A lot of keys to this one. But, Coach, it seems like every time you play a team, there's a former Raven coach on their team. And you have Anthony Weaver, who's their defensive coordinator here. He spent a lot of time in Baltimore. Do you take any kind of similarities from, knowing how they used to play and how this team now plays?
I think at this point in the journey in the 2025 season, there's enough relevant tape in Miami to watch. Certainly, we are aware of his background and how it shaped him. But 11, 12, 13 games in, man, we got enough Miami tape to look at, and certainly the way they've been trending defensively over the last 5 weeks speaks for itself. They've played really good football, and he's deserving of a lot of credit there.
You guys have given up rushing yardage the last few weeks. Miami comes in with a really head-first rushing game. They're putting it on the field, and 239 yards, as I mentioned last week. Point of emphasis this week, and how does that change for you guys?
I don't know that it does. Certainly, man, I hope that we're able to keep some guys up. He got real testy there last week, particularly when Pat Queen went down for the short stretch that he went down. Keanu Benton went down at the early stages of the game. Thankfully, he was able to return. The attrition component of it is a major component of ball this time of year. And so we're going to work all week, man, to make sure that, some of our supplementary players and some of our role players, man, get the required snaps in an effort to be ready to play. Because there are no excuses this time of year. The standard's the standard. No question we got a hot running group coming in here, but I expect our guys to line up and play football. And fundamentally, it comes down to whooping blocks and being where you're supposed to be and making tackles, and looking forward to that.
Looking forward to the game. Coach, thanks very much. It's going to be December football weather for sure over at Acrisure Stadium on Monday night, and we look forward to seeing all of you there. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. For head coach Mike Tomlin and Missy Matthews, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.